How to finish our pro-approved doors in Unreal Engine 5. Getting all players in the game to see the same thing when a door is opened or closed in an Unreal Engine 5 project is quite the process. We've been working hard on getting these doors going, and we're almost ready to see the final result. So let's get right into the finale of how I was able to get the result you're seeing right now. And then next up, we need to fix our door collisions because I'll show you what's going on in there. But we're going to go into Old West Volume 6 and we'll search for SM Door 06. And this 6A is the actual door. And we can show our collisions in here by pressing Show Simple Collision. And I'll go in here and we're looking for that option, and we just scrolled over it. So yeah, we'll go to Simple Collision, and we'll click on that. And as you can see, it just draws like a primitive shape. So just a box. And this is the most efficient collision and what we want to be using in an ideal world. But then if we go to the door frame, this is where the problem happens. As you saw, the actual door, the collisions looked reasonable because it's just a square. But then if we go to show here, and we're still struggling to find it, but no big deal. It had been a long day. And we can go to this player collision mode, and that helps you see the problem, but we'll go to lit as well. And we'll turn on complex collision, and that shows us the very complicated blue collision. And we're going to uncheck that. So see, we unchecked the simple, and now we can see how the complex collision perfectly covers the mesh. But the only problem with this is it's very resource intensive, so we want to use simple unless we absolutely have to. And then we see our simple collision, instead of it being just the door frame, it's just making a square out of the entire thing. So if we go to try to walk through the door, then we're not going to be able to because the collision is just generating a box around the entire mesh. So we want to right click and press delete collision, and now we're going to remake it manually. So to do that, we're just going to add shapes. And to do that, we go to collision, add box simplified collision, and see it auto generates a box around the whole thing. And we need to go to left. And basically, we want this one to cover the left post. So we can go into here to our boxes, and we can edit the extents so that it fits over that post. So we've set it as 5.5, and we can turn off snapping to make it easier. And as we can see, it's a little bit too small, so we want to bump that up a little bit. So let's try 6. That's also too small. Let's try 8. Still a little too small. So 10, that looks pretty good. And again, this isn't a perfect science. We just want to get it as close as is reasonable. So as we can see here, this is looking pretty good. Maybe we'll make it a little smaller because it's kind of jutting out a little bit because of the padlock. And that's good enough, I think. This is one of those things where you can be a perfectionist about it and spend a lot of time, but the result isn't going to be any better. And now that we're done with that, we need to go back to left, and we're going to make a new primitive. Okay. So now we're going to copy that index 0, and we can paste it on a new member that we create. And see how that worked? The new member is now exactly the same as the old one. And now we can move it over to cover the right post. And this should be exactly the same as the other one. As we can see, we're looking pretty good. And it is a little bit bigger than our box for the other one. That's interesting that it's not exactly the same. So we'll set it to 11, and that looks pretty good. And then we'll go to the front, and this appears to be exactly the same. So I think we're just going to leave this. Yeah, pretty good. So now we have both of the posts, and those are both looking good. And now we just need to do the top crossbar. So we'll add another box simplified collision. And this is index 2. And we'll go back to left. And we're going to update the Z extent because the other ones should be fine. And let's see. Let's try that. And we'll drag it up. And we'll pan up a little bit here and put it on there. And it looks pretty good. We're going to make it a round number of 11. And I think that's honestly the best we're going to need to do. So yeah, we're looking pretty good here. I think we're all set. Unless we're going to be a perfectionist here, and we certainly are, because that's the kind of guy I am. So we'll edit the Y extent to make it a little bit more perfect. And honestly, I'm at the point where I think this is enough, and it's paining me to watch this. This is one of those things, diminishing returns and all that good stuff. But yeah, now at least we save and are mercifully done with this step, so that's good. And now we have to go and create our door blueprint. So we'll go into CCS content, core, interactable actors, and door, so blueprint class. And we want to search for door CCS and make the blueprint and call it BP door CCS. And we can step right in. Okay, and we're inside of here. And the first thing we want to do is set this widget. Remember, we have to use that widget pass-through CCS material. And then we can select our interaction widget, HSS. Okay, so that's looking good. Compile, save. And we want to set this to draw at desired size. It'll take me a while to remember that, so we'll go back and do it. But we want to search for door 6 for the door frame, and remember we want that 6B. And the collision should be good now. And for door, we want 6B again, and 6A is what we want. So see how they perfectly fit, so that's good. And we can rotate the forward arrow, and we can just set that to 90 because we just want to show us that that's where the door is going to open in that direction. You'll see what it looks like in the editor. It's a big help when designing the level. And see, we click back on widget, and now we remember to say hidden in game, well, visible. Check that. And don't worry about rotating this. Remember, it's going to automatically rotate. All we have to do is just raise it up a little bit so that it will be in the right position for when it shows up. We just need that vertical position to be right. And then we press draw desired size. That's the big one. And that's looking pretty good. And we can set the visibility back to false. So good stuff, compile, save. And then we'll click on our receiver box component. And we're gonna set the box extent. So first we need to make it visible so we can actually see what we're doing. And this is the benefit of the change we made in C++, where if we zero this out, so right now we're setting default values because we forgot, we can just set it in here. So we'll go left, and we'll drag it, and see we're editing the actual box and not that value on the interaction actor. And we can make this exactly fit. And that's looking pretty good. We probably want to make it a little bit wider so it's easier to interact with. Because remember, it doesn't have to be exactly the box. So yeah, we'll make that a little bit bigger. And that's looking pretty good to me. We'll make it a little bit bigger to make it even easier. And compile save, go to perspective, and yeah, that's looking pretty good to me. And yeah, and we go to our box component and we can set the visibility back to false. So compile save, and we're all set there. And next up, we go to the top level and we need to set our interaction text. So for close, we want to set this to something like press to close. Yeah, so press to close the door, perfect. And press to open the door. So that's good. Compile save. And next up, we need to set our door open angle. So press E and kind of rotate this. And as we can see, the opening and the direction we want is positive. So it's going to positive 90. So we want that to be our open angle. So to do that, we need to click onto the top level. So not the door like I am there, the top level. And we have open angle. And by default, that's set to 90. So we're good there. So that's good. And then next up, we need to set our door sound references. So we'll scroll down, and it's in here somewhere. Keep going. And that isn't it. And here we go. So there's the open, close, and lock. And we'll scroll down a bit so we can open up the content drawer and still see that. And we have our sound cues doors, and drop in close, drop in lock, and drop in open. And then we should be all set, compile save. And then one more thing here, we have to press lock on scale for the door frame, and then 1.2. Because when I was initially testing, the player was too big to get through the door. So we have to make it a little bit bigger by scaling it up at 1.2. And then we have to update the box extent to match. So 135, that looks pretty good. And we can up this as well. Let's try 110, nah, too small. It's actually fine, so we'll leave that. And then 80. And yeah, I'm happy with that, so compile save. And now we can hide this. So yeah, we don't want this to be visible. Not the interaction receiver, we want the box. Yeah, there we go. So compile save, and then we're done with the door BP. And last but not least here, we need to update the level. So we'll delete that interactable actor we had in there and drop in one of our doors. Okay, so that's in there. We can move it a little bit away from the players. Compile save, and move it a little further away. And we'll drag it into interactable actors. And we'll test, as you can see, we have it set to client. And after all of our hard work, this is the result. So see, it's being perfectly replicated as we open and close the door whenever we want to. We're seeing it on both screens, and the text prompt is even updating. So pretty good stuff, and because we have debug on, remember, we can see the collision box as well. So we'll keep opening and closing the door because we've spent so long working on this, and I know I'm relieved to see it working as we walk our client through the door a few times. Oh, we bumped into the crossbar there, and we're looking pretty good. And we're going to close it, and this is kind of a problem. So see, when we open it there, our guy isn't smoothly bumped out of the way like we would like. It's more jagged. And this is unfortunately inherent to how the character movement component updates in Unreal. And don't get me wrong, the character movement component is absolutely fantastic, and it's so great to work with. But this is one limitation. So when it's being swept out of the way like this, it looks a little funky. And this is something we're going to have to file away as we need to fix when we work on our own custom character movement component. But that is a problem for another day. And for now, we're just going to speed run the review process. So Windows package, delete the old one, and get rid of that folder name, select, and I'll skip ahead till it's done. And thankfully, packaging is looking good, so we can close out of the editor, throw this into review. We'll launch our build, and we'll walk around in here, and things appear to be working. So the doors is opening and closing just like we'd like. We can walk through, we can close from this side, open it again, walk through again, and I'm happy with this, so we'll move on. And then we'll quickly look through our Perforce change set, and as you can see, it's mostly the film cow stuff. So we have the actual things that we changed, and then the rest of it is just the film cow stuff. There's a lot of assets there. And then we have more stuff we changed down here. So make sure yours matches all that as much as possible. And we're looking pretty good, I think. And now we can send this on its way by scrolling down and pressing submit. And these are a lot of files, so definitely be patient with Perforce here, and I'll skip ahead until it's done. And as we move back to our board, throw this into done and add our little comment. Thank you so much as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.